laugh so hard you'll be carried out on a gurney. Hear from the humans, Jayne Houdyshell, Stephen Karam, and Birney. It was the easiest rhyme. Houdyshell was the second. So Stephen wrote the humans to a nomination for him, and then Jayne Houdyshell and Reed are two of the stars, Tony nominees for that as well. The play, I want to say, began off-Broadway. Stephen, am I correct?
That's correct.
And the play is basically your family's Thanksgiving just transcribed from a cassette recorder?
Yeah, I didn't have to write.
You don't have to change anything. It's
No, I
not
wish.
the most functional of families. Okay, so we'll talk about it. So first of all, Stephen, so how did you decide to write this show, which is basically about a family getting together for Thanksgiving and, just they've got some issues.
Well, I thought I was going to write a thriller, like a death trap, like a stage thriller. So it actually didn't start as a family drama. And
What was going to be the scary part?
well, I was interested in talking about fear and anxiety and the way that people cope with it. So I sort of had this. You're probably the only person that will know this reference. But have you seen The Last of Sheila?
I know of it, but I've never seen it. It's a little before my time.
No, it's never seen it.
No, it's before my time.
But I forgot. It's in the '70s. You were not born.
I was
then.
around. I was enjoying things, but not every rickety rackety piece of crap in the '70s. All right, continue.
When I was a teenager, I became obsessed with a lot of these thrillers where they had like puzzle-like qualities, and that's one where each person is assigned to a specific like mystery or secret or crime or whatever. So I was thinking about the big existential fears, fear of poverty, fear of ill health, fear of criticism. Sarah Steele's character with the letter of recommendation.
Yes.
Backfiring.
That was a great speech, by the way. We'll talk about that, but that was very inspiring to me.
Anyway, it got started because I started to create a group of characters that was sprung from one of these fears, and
then
gradually all that fell away, and I just had a family.
Yeah, because so what happened? You were like, where's the scary part? All I'm doing is laughing as I'm writing this. You began to realize I'm no longer scared.
A little bit, but I was interested in the more it became, you have to let the play become what it wants to be, and so the more it became this strange genre collision. I feel like when I watch it, I still see a family thriller, but I sort of have to accept now that most people do not see like the scary play that I still carry with me, that I went into it with. But when Reed's going up the staircase,
I was scared when I saw the ticket price. Anybody? Actually, by the way, I got press seats, so it literally makes no sense. All right, go on.
There are $39 tickets.
Okay.
And $30.
Totally not even serious.
But
my Borscht Belt.
No. That's a moment out of even a Wes Craven movie or Halloween. It's when Reed is taking the place of the beautiful young woman going up the stairs.
Not taking the place, I don't think.
Or actually is the.
You tell me. So speaking of Reed is one of the stars of the show, and the last time I saw you was in Harvey Fierstein. What was the name of it?
Casa Valentina.
Casa Valentina. They just did it on the West Coast, I know.
That's right.
So you were in full drag then, and now you're back in full male regalia.
That's right.
And then, so what is, it is sort of a heavy show for you, I would think. Are you sort of like, oh my God, 8 times a week I don't have the energy to be this depressed?
I remember saying when we were off Broadway and were told that we were moving to Broadway, I thought, oh, I'm going to have to cry every day now for the next year, which I don't generally do. But
you're a 14-year-old girl. Okay.
Yeah. But I love the play so much, and the part is so fantastic that I just am thrilled to live in that world every day.
Okay, and Houdyshell, last time I saw you was in Follies, of course, where you sing Barbie Baby. You're amazing. You also backstage. Was it backstage a disaster? I remember. Or did you write? I remember speaking to you after my show Disaster, but I can't remember where it was. It was backstage opening night, but I remember there was something related to you and Disaster.
And the who?
And my show, Disaster.
I saw you at Disaster.
I feel like it was the last time I saw you was there.
Yeah. No, I came to see Disaster and came backstage, and I loved it so much.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I remember you. I just can't remember if I was backstage, walking down the street, or you sent me an email. But thank you for whatever it was. I do appreciate it. And I feel like I saw you in The Receptionist. Could that
Maybe?
be? I was obsessed with that show too. So do you only do the most amazing plays in the world? What's with that? How do you choose? Are you one of those people that, because people say to me like, why don't you ever come to St. Louis? I'm like, offer me a job and I'll go. Are you one of those people like, if you get a play, you're like, I'll take it? Or are you like, I'm very discerning with my plays?
I worked for 27 years in regional theater, doing old revivals and classics and modern classics, but all plays that had been done before, and the roles had been originated by other people and stuff. So it was 15 years ago that I decided I needed to make a shift in my life and career, and I decided that I really wanted to be doing new work because I'd never originated anything.
Wow.
So that's when I fully committed to not going out of town but staying in New York. And the first play that I landed was Lisa Krohn's play Well.
Uh-huh.
Which
So you
we
made a
did-
decision a minute later, got the most amazing show in the world. It's so great, I love it.
Yeah, and we did it off Broadway and on Broadway, and it was a 4.5-year journey. But in the course of that time, because that play received so much recognition, I met all these new, burgeoning, emerging playwrights who asked me to come on board with new work. So, you know, it was like I was fulfilling exactly what I wanted to do and experience as an artist, and The Receptionist was definitely one of those plays.
It's a great show.
And Coraline was another one, and
So
Pain in
exciting.
the Itch, and
But Fallings was a revival, but you did that because it was a big, exciting.
I did that because, you know, when you get called for a Sondheim show, you might want to do it
You're funny that way.
on the Broadway. I couldn't believe that fell into my lap. That
You were
was-
great in it.
Thank you. I loved doing it. It was one of the most joyful experiences I've ever had in my life, and it was so thrilling because because the cast was so fantastic and the orchestra was the
I know.
illustrations
The
were
full
so
orchestra
gorgeous.
as opposed to the 4-person garage band that we have to
And
do.
I had all this spare time in the show. I wasn't on much at all. And James Moore, the conductor, let me go down in the pit and listen and have that experience of being surrounded by that sound.
Oh, that's so cool.
And it was the thrill of a lifetime. I sat backstage every single night and listened to the whole show. I just couldn't get enough of the score.
I love it. And now, that was your first Broadway musical, wasn't it?
No, I did Bye Bye Birdie, and I did Wicked.
Before that?
I was in Wicked for 18 months on Broadway.
As Elphaba? Because that's high. I know she's now horrible off my...
Very good, Glinda.
Exactly, you still got it. Now, read Birney, you sing this like 2-second thing in the play, but I thought your voice was great. Have you ever done any Broadway musicals?
Why, no, I haven't.
What's up with that?
I don't know.
Have you tried out?
Not much.
Maybe that's the problem. Never actually auditioned for
Yeah, I think people, you know, it's really parallel worlds, the musical world and the straight play world. So maybe things will change now that I get to sing in this show.
You do have such a nice Irish voice. I was so impressed. Both you guys sound amazing on your little Irish ditty.
It's a beautiful song, yeah.
And okay, so we're back to Karam, the actual writer. So this is your first Tony nomination, right?
Yeah, first Broadway
Very
play.
exciting. And first Broadway play as well. So it's so boring, but what is your writing process? You like Charles Busch, was like every morning at 11 a.m. or you just like, whatever.
No, I mean, I do think you have to be disciplined. I think anybody who makes something is disciplined, even if they say they're not. But no, I mean, I feel like I do a lot of reading and dreaming in between the actual writing.
Wait, you mean like going on Facebook like I do? Is that your version of reading?
That's part of it, but I try to cut back on that. So more like, but I do watch a lot of your videos online. I've gone down some wormholes.
Some Rudetsky wormholes?
Yeah.
Thank you. I still got it.
Yeah, so you still got it, and no, but so a lot of research, a lot of reading, a lot of.
What do you mean by reading? Reading other people's stuff or reading about the stuff you're writing?
Like reading about religion, if I'm thinking about religion, like reading about sociology, or in this case, I stumbled into a book called The Examined Life when I was thinking a lot about human behavior. That leads you to novels. Then somebody tells you, "Oh, you're interested in this. Why don't you read that?" You know, I think that can be a way of putting off the writing. But at the end of the day, when the writing starts, it's usually more. It flows a little more freely.
Because the whole artist's way is like, do no reading whatsoever. Like, write it all like with no actual reading.
No, I mean, I feel like when I get inspired by other people's work, that puts me really in the mood to write. In fact, I solve problems when I'm in the middle of a play, like a draft, and I can't solve a problem. Seeing other plays and musicals is sometimes the most helpful thing. I can't even explain why, but in the middle of a scene in a play that has nothing to do with my play, completely different tone, style, structure, sometimes you just get like lightning bolts.
I know what you mean. Like seeing another puzzle solved makes you go, oh, I can solve this puzzle.
Exactly.
Hey, how long ago did you start writing it? I don't think I ever asked you that.
I think I started writing this play in 2012 and finished it like at the end of 2012.
And
like
then
a draft.
What's your process? Like when we did Disaster, like when I finished Act 1, I had my friends come over and read through Act 1. Do you have readings, I guess you do it, or you do it all yourself? What's the deal?
You know, I'm a bit of a weirdo. I like to keep it super close. It's not that my first drafts come out neat, it's just that I write about 20 of them before I even want friends to read it out loud. But then then it's like safety of friends around a table. And,
But when you begin, like literally every 2 pages, I'm calling my friends and reading to them. Like, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think?
But my friends who are writers are the exact same way, and I'm often on the end. Like I love being the person that gets those calls, but I think it's just how I'm wired. I feel like if I start asking other people what they think before I know what I think of the work, it feels very harmful and feels too overwhelming. But when I sort of have a handle on what the thing is, then it's quite exciting and not as scary to hear a group of actors say like, yeah, I got a little lost here, I got to, you know. But when you don't know what it is, I feel like maybe I'll get sent down another path if I don't figure it out myself first.
So well analyzed. Where'd you go to college, Smarty Pants?
I went to Brown University.
I knew it. Okay, because everything is so like pieces
Public
A.
school going up there. I'm very proud of
Conclusion.
my public school education in Scranton. So.
Scranton, hey, it's featured heavily
I have
in
to-
Humans.
I have to
Okay,
give a
so
shout out.
Houdyshell. So now, I just, last week I had Michael Lembeck on the show, and he was like, I'm going to be a TV director, and the next minute he got a TV show. So I love that you were just like, I'm going to originate roles in the next minute. But if you hadn't, do you have a day job all these years you were working, like, in New York?
No, no, I just struggled. I was able to work real steadily for those 27 years I was in regional theater. And so there was a couple of years when I stopped doing that and was focusing on working here where the times were very lean, and I got more than one eviction notice. But I was
We've all been there.
I was determined not to lose my focus. I mean, I was working for free a lot, doing readings and workshops and things, and I just didn't want to take a job that was going to take my focus away. So I just white-knuckled it through that period until I started becoming gainfully employed again.
So determined, I love it. And Birney, what about you? Are you really like, I can't wait to go back to TV? Like, what's your deal with theater? Because I feel like you're always doing a play.
I'm always doing a play. The TV thing is very unusual for me. The House of Cards gig is a great job, but that's late in I never had a big film or television career. I'm a play guy.
And why is that? Because you like plays better?
That's who was buying what I was selling.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I want to do plays always. I never want to not do plays.
And since this is our Tony special for Memorial Day weekend and whatnot, what is your Tony story? So, Reed, were you up at 8 o'clock with a cup of coffee and Kleenex nearby in case you didn't get
No,
nominated?
I was too nervous. So the good news is I slept very well that night. And
Really?
yeah, I
Clonopin?
don't know what that was about because I didn't expect to, but I slept really well. And I think it was 8:30 that they started announcing
Yes.
it, and I woke up at like 8:15, and I turned over again and went back to sleep. And about 10 to 9, I think I got a text that something good had happened.
Oh my gosh, you
Yeah.
actually didn't watch.
I didn't watch.
Okay, Karam, what about you?
So I'm up early, so I was going to try and watch.
Well, you're the complete opposite of me. Like,
I'm a
discipline, you don't call your friends, you actually wake up early. Nothing
Maybe
we
we
have in
should
common.
collaborate.
Yeah, exactly.
Really good collaboration.
Opposites attract. All right, keep going.
Exactly. So I was trying to get the live feed, and I have terrible
Wi-Fi?
Wi-Fi in my apartment. Or I should say, sometimes it works, and sometimes it's terrible.
Like in the image, you have to go by the window.
That's right.
A little bit. So it wasn't coming through, and I don't have cable, so I couldn't watch it on whatever channel it was on, CBS. So I was just on the internet, just like a crazy person trying to see what.
Going to every single website possible.
Yeah, and eventually the first thing that was just text. People start texting.
We've kind of been surprised since every single review is like, this is the best play of the year. Like, surely you weren't surprised.
Well, I don't think it was a matter of I don't think I was even in a certain category. It was more just like such a new experience that I just kind of you know, especially since I was up early, it felt like it would be disingenuous of me to be, you know, doing what I normally would do at like 8:30 and just casually not wondering about it.
Mhm.
So I just kind of was like, let me see what happens.
And what was the feeling when you got the nomination?
Incredible. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think the stuff that you're pointing to, I still can't believe the show is on Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
So none of this is lost to me, and it's also like, I think when your career is mostly off Broadway, or even just when you're a writer in general, you don't really expect anything. I feel like the bad reviews are a surprise, but good reviews are a surprise. You don't take anything for granted. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So
I
like
do
the
know what you
world
mean,
in which
especially
we
being a
would
writer.
not have received a nomination didn't feel strange to me at all. It feels like that stuff happens all the time.
So you weren't writing this to be like, this would be a Broadway play. You were just like, I'm writing a play.
I was like, I'm writing a play, yeah.
And then it just happened to get snagged for
Yeah,
Broadway.
I'm kind of a believer that like good plays are good plays, and I've seen so many of my favorite plays where you see them in intimate environments, like, you know, when Cromer redid Our Town, and it blew everyone away. It was like, and I think if you first discover a play like that, like I think a lot of the, if not most of the great plays are now all discovered or being created off Broadway or in smaller theaters across the country. I think this thing has happened where we associate intimate with new work by younger writers. And so the extension of that is this, I think, huge fear that like the work will implode when it moves to a bigger stage.
They always say that, how is it going to retain its intimacy on Broadway?
It's become this big thing when I'm like, you know, seeing a great play like The Glass Menagerie in a black box theater is kind of its own amazing experience, and you can't recreate that. But the play also doesn't wilt when you put it on Broadway.
No, dear.
I'm using
No, I agree with you. There's
I'm
this whole theory that you have to have the right environment for a show. It's like, if a show is good, you can usually adapt to anything.
Yeah, like I remember people worrying about Fun Home, and I was so in love with the show when I saw it at the public that I was like, I would go to see this at Madison Square Garden. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you just have to get those opera glasses.
You get the opera glasses, and you know.
And you can see it all. And Houdyshell, what about you? Where were you in Tony? Was this your second nomination? Third. Okay, third nomination. Rude. Okay, where were you when you got the nomination?
I was sleeping. I slept in. I did that kind of on purpose because I did not want to see anybody saying my name or not saying my name. I just didn't want to have that experience, and I knew that whenever I woke up, if I slept in, if I had a lot of emails, I'd know, and if I didn't have any, then I'd know, you know, and so I woke up and went on my computer, and there were lots of nice congratulatory emails, and it was wonderful.
That's such an exciting time. And
Yeah, it's
so
lovely.
before I go, so first the show's humans. Before I go, what's been your biggest onstage mishap, Reed or Jayne?
In this play?
In any show. Harvey
any
Fireson's
show.
bra falling off. Glinda falling off stage, breaking a limb.
I was in a play called The Common Pursuit in 1988 at the Promenade, and took place in a literary office, and it was in that opera building, you know, across from Fairway, and a pipe broke on an upper floor, and it started dripping water on the skylight of the set. So we sort of thought, oh, well, it's raining outside. And then all of a sudden it started pouring, and then it started pouring inside the office. It was, so we
Did the show go on?
We had to stop. Yeah, we all went home.
You didn't even conclude it?
No.
There's a whole audience that's like, what happened?
There were firemen with axes walking on stage. So.
That kind of breaks the fourth wall. Houdyshell, what about you?
I was doing a regional theater production of a musical version of Jane Eyre, not the one that was done here,
Oh, wow.
but it was starring Marianne Plunkett. And I was playing all the benign servants, including Mrs. Fairfax at Thornfield Hall. And it was the big interview scene between Rochester and Jane. And I was Mrs. Fairfax in the corner knitting. And there were big, beautiful wooden timbered in the set to denote Thornfield Hall, and except the big beautiful timbers were made of styrofoam.
And they were above your head?
They were above all of our heads, and halfway during the scene, a timber fell.
Which just floated down.
Just kind of floated down. And Marianne and Charles Pistone, who was playing Rochester, looked at the timber and looked at me. I looked at them, and it was like, okay. So I got up, and I picked the thing up. And this thing, I swear, I am not exaggerating, was probably 12 feet long. And
And it
picked
looked
it
like an
up
enormous piece of wood.
and carried it to the upstage. And,
Did you at
and
least
the,
pretend
but
it was
to
heavy?
get off the set, I had to maneuver it
Oh, like Tetris.
and get it back horizontal and then disappear off into the wings.
Wire.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Hence, you're like, no more regional theater.
It was like an Ernie Kovacs sketch or something. It
So
was
50s.
outrageous.
All right, in conclusion, go see The Humans, up for 8,000 Tony Awards, and go cheer on Reed and Jayne on the night of the Tony Awards, and Stephen, of course. Bravo! Peace out.
Thank you.
So, got it.